Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Allayah as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Allayah, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome to the Circle of Hearts on OMTimes Radio. I am Allayah, your host for this hour. Today's, welcome to the sanctuary, as I always, say, make yourself comfortable, because I want you to enjoy hearing my next guest, who is a friend. You often hear me say, I have friends. In the past 15 years, I've met many, many amazing souls and have gone to reconnect with them, and they have become friends. So we share our journeys with you on the airwaves, in this form. Today, I'm going to bring Marlene Marlene, I never get your last name.
Swetlishoff.
Hey, here we go.
Just call me Marlene. That's much easier.
Okay. She's really, many of you know her as the Rainbow Scribe, with the Hilarion channels. And I was kidding her in the pre-show. I said, this is a wonderful way for people to really get to know the person who does this. She comes out with what comes through her are the most beautiful messages. And we all find that when we read them, it seems like she's talking to us personally. We take something that we need out of it. But no one really kind of knows Marlene. She's a wonderful, quiet lady that I had to practically drag out on the last time on the other show, very shy. I was going, this is going to be fun. And she's going, yeah. Don't think she believes me like she believes me now.
I'm here. I made it.
Marlene, just so people can kind of get a feel of your journey, because I do have the show listed as the Unfolding Soul Journey. How did you become a scribe? I mean, how did you, from the beginning, did one day you just wake up and say, okay?
Well, back in 1979, actually, I discovered a place called Universal Mother Mary's Garden that was situated in Grass Valley, California. And it was run by a man named Samuel Partridge. And he was married to a lady called Ida, whose spiritual name was White Dove. And she was a channel for many beings of the family of light. And that is how I became acquainted with so many ascended masters, angels, and extraterrestrial beings. It is through their monthly News from the Mountaintop newsletter. And in one of those newsletters, there was a picture of a painting of Hilarion. Mm-hmm. And I found myself really attracted to his image. And many times in those days since then, every time I looked at that picture, I found myself talking to that image, telling him that I would love to be his channel. So many years later, I had, a block of time where I didn't, have too much to do, and ended up taking some channeling lessons, how to channel, and started channeling many different ascended masters and angels. And then somehow I learned that from a channel that Hilarion was hanging around me. Mm-hmm. So one day I asked him if he would want to work with me. And he said yes. And so we started every day sitting at the same time, and we were writing a story, see? So every day he would continue writing this story. And then one day it hit me that we weren't really writing a story. It was just practicing so that we could connect with each other. And so that is how I started.
It's interesting. Careful what you wish for.
Yes.
Because too,
And, I never remembered that until like maybe 4 months ago, that I used to do that I would, sit there and look at his image and say, talk to him and tell him how I would love to be his channel.
wow.
So, yes, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it really is interesting because people really don't know how people get started at things. They'll read the beautiful works, but they really, I'm always curious. Because talking pre-show, I said a lot of us just kind of fell into it or got one of those spiritual, clicks on the head. You got to do something. And, we're all very human.
Yes.
And, you try to live this dualistic life. And I don't know about you, when certain things started coming to me, I'm going, okay, is this real? Is this fantasy? But then I found out I would investigate certain things. I mean, did you explore or try to find out about Hilarion?
Well, not till recently, which is very strange. I just accepted that he was an Ascended Master because of that previous time in around the beginning of the 1980s. And so I didn't really have too much curiosity about who he really was or what his origin was or any of his lifetimes until recently. So there you have it, folks.
Wow.
Not too curious of a person. Yep. Although I am, but for some reason in this situation, I didn't have, I just had an acceptance that he was an Ascended Master, and I enjoyed and was honored that he wanted to work through me.
As you learned more of his history, you had mentioned, what was it, Edwin Courtney?
Edwin Courtney from the UK. He's a trance channel.
How he brought to your recognition some of, this information and connection back to Victoria, etc.?
Yes, it's actually really interesting. The Ascended Master Hilarion was an Atlantean Ascended Master. Wow. And he's the one who holds the knowledge and the wisdom and the power of Atlantis for all of the Ascended Master Collective. For many other Ascended Masters experienced Atlantis and lived and served in its temples, but Hilarion was the one who has had the most incarnations there. So his most famous lifetime in Atlantis was as Hilarion, as the high priest in the Temple of Peace, the Topaz Temple, the Temple of Healing. And that was his be-all and end-all. Healing was his passion and interest.
Okay.
He was the coordinator and facilitator for training those who were chosen to become healers in Atlantis. And he was responsible for diversifying the training into many different areas. And he discovered that hidden amongst the different caste systems, that there were healing modalities, understandings, and truths that were powerful and essential. And he brought these back to the Temple of Peace in Atlantis. Now, the caste system, I had to look that up. I was confused. I didn't know what that meant, but it was a system of the segregation of people according to traditional hereditary occupation. So I would imagine people were incarnated into families and followed the occupations or callings that were there within their family, such as lawyers perhaps do, continuing that tradition in their families through their sons and daughters nowadays.
It sounds like almost so similar, where nothing's much changed except, the dates or the time.
Yeah, so I don't know how much time we have. If there's, I could speak a little bit more about what I've written here about him.
Yeah, I think on the, after the break, maybe that we'll get a little bit more involved.
Okay.
You have a bigger span.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I found myself, as I was hearing this information for the first time, going, I like that.
Yeah, it's sense of remembering. And it's interesting.
Yes, and he was very brave and courageous in the things that he did in order to preserve all that information. I just found myself admiring his being for doing what he did.
Well, I think it's really interesting because, you see the name, but you really, even myself, after I met you, I did some research, and it's nice to find out more background.
Mm-hmm.
It's, even the idea of, as they had mentioned, the Topaz Temple, which is interesting because on Skype, she has this visionary artist painting. And I'm looking at, and there's a lot of that color in there, topaz.
Yes.
So, I know that's off the wall, but if the people were able to see what I'm looking at, I'm going, it's very prominent in your field. And I remember Maya Nartud of Spirit Mythos had mentioned a few years ago that the color of topaz was going to be the color of the fifth dimension energies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, see, I do my own 2 cents in there. All right, we're going to go, we'll be back in a few minutes.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love, and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue-collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Well, welcome back. We're back with Marlene, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Hilarion and also, your connection with Atlantis. Well, I know this is after we talk about Hilarion a little bit. I wonder if that prompted you to connect with Brian DeFlores.
Perhaps. I didn't have that conscious awareness, but I think I connected with Brian DeFlores because, here was a place that had new information.
Well, no,
and I'm just a glutton for new information. So, yes, I probably, he has lifetimes there, and we probably did know each other somehow in Atlantean times.
Yeah, it just seems, just popped in my head during that, downtime we had, that there was some kind of connection between you, Brian DeFlores, the healing temples, and Hilarion. So now getting back to Hilarion.
Okay, so, well, I can continue from where I left off. So he brought in experts, elders, high priests, and high priestesses from all of these other castes that were surrounding Atlantis and even further afield in the world. And he brought them back to Atlantis and made them teachers in the Temple of Peace. Now this, at that time, was unheard of, for no one before him had ever done such a thing. No high priest or high priestess had ever considered that there might be value in the healing systems of other castes in other parts of the world. So he pioneered this outreach and connection, and he sent priests and priestesses out into the world to not only share the truths and knowledge that they had in Atlantis, but to learn from those that they encountered along the way. And many of these returned with knowledge that enriched Atlantis, and they also passed on guidance and teachings that enriched the world. And during this lifetime as Hilarion in the Temple of Peace, he also became aware of the fact that Atlantis was doomed in the future, and he sought to ensure that what he had built would never be lost. He sent out priests and priestesses to create safe havens in the world for his teachings, and he planned his own future incarnation to contribute to this also. So just before the time of the end of Atlantis, he reincarnated one more time, and unbeknownst to the people around him, he returned with full knowledge of who he had been and what had to be done to save the knowledge that had been accumulated in Atlantis and the Temple of Healing.
I wonder if that has something, I know I'm interjecting while you're talking here. He was the guide for the priests and priestesses, but he was getting them prepared to go forth after, let's say, before the lulls, the dooms part. To spread all over to different lands to carry forth, some basic teaching. Now I'm wondering somewhere if there was some of that crystal skull knowledge.
Oh, yes.
Next in there, because I know you were also, 2 points I would break out. To me it's like you were one of either the priests or priestesses, whatever, embodiment you had, that you were guided or, downloaded his information at that time, and you just now have reconnected again to spread this knowledge globally.
Yes.
But also that our connection, the crystal skulls, because it came out of the blue how we really connected. Well, maybe not. I think my one skull had something to do with that. But between that and, you getting involved with Joseph Bennett and the crystal skull compassion.
Yes, that was the most amazing thing. I had been looking for, I was posting an article on compassion on my website, and I needed a picture to depict compassion. So I started a Google search, and the first picture that turned up was a picture of Compassion, the crystal skull. So I thought, well, she wants to be here. So I posted that above my article, and then I emailed Joseph and asked for his permission after the fact. And he very kindly gave me the permission to publish a picture of Compassion, the crystal skull. and that's how we connected. And then she came through with the beginnings of a story about her beginnings, and she gave me one night 3 or 6 book titles. The first one being Lemurian Beginnings, which is the one who stymied me, because I didn't really have any conscious interest or connection with Lemuria before. So I felt that, like I didn't have that knowledge stored inside of me. How could I, if I didn't have that knowledge and that, information inside of me, how could I possibly channel this book on Lemurian beginnings? And it's been kind of like sitting there waiting for me to start or actually continue with the information that had been coming through. And so far, I'm still waiting. But, it's interesting because there's Lemurian Beginnings, then there's Atlantean Awakenings, then there's the title Lost in Obscurity, then there is African Awakenings. And then there was a handbook for skull guardians and keepers, and the last one was Tonal Frequency. So you can't really blame me for getting overwhelmed. It's like, duh, me?
And it's kind of interesting because, many people don't know Joe Bennett, but I knew him years ago, and he, like Liz Hamilton, has the most amazing collection of crystals. Huge crystals.
Yes, he's a crystal lover for sure.
And many of them are, I think, Lemurian, just like Liz's.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting how we're all kind of connecting to synchronicity. So there must be some kind of Atlantean connection going on here.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
I know Joseph. So I'm aware of his, work. Actually, I was aware when, he started to get involved. Before he got involved with compassion, he was drawn to her. And then came you.
Yes, there's other people throughout the world that are connecting to compassion also. I think there's a channel in Holland, I believe, who is working on a book, getting information from compassion, according to what I read on Joseph's website a while back. So, yeah, she's, there's just not one person who is the connection. There are many. And maybe she'll come out with that book.
Yeah, just, again, when I was putting pieces together with, Hilarion and Atlantis and, the Temple of Healing and, sort of the Temple of Knowledge and, the topaz color, which is, I think Maya had also mentioned it comes forth from the pineal gland, this topaz color. And the crystal consciousness. And it's all is intertwined, and just a little bit during this ending of our segment, this next segment I read, is Marlene, and, she had contacted me, and, I was telling her, I was so in awe of Marlene and her messages, and, she contacted me about reading, and I'm, she knows I laugh at this because my mouth all dropped. I said, oh my God, and my husband's saying, get over this, she's just another human being, I had her, like, in one of these great sages in the mountains someplace, so. And I got to know Marlene, and, such a beautiful, sweet woman. And that's why I thought it was so important that people get to know her. Because, what she brings through are so heartfelt and, high vibrational energies. I just wanted, people to get to know her. But getting back to this, she contacts me, and then we're talking, and the crystal skulls came up, and I have one skull called Melchizedek, and I think we have some kind of connection with the order of Melchizedek. And then now she has a little crystal skull that I'm very familiar with called Star.
Yes, thanks to your generosity, I have that sacred skull here right beside me.
Yeah, well, she was waiting. I had her, and she was always with the Tara. And the Tara actually means star. So the name that you picked, she expressed to you is so perfect.
Yeah, before I even received her, that is a name that came through, Star. And when I received her, she said, I want to be your beautiful shining star.
Yeah.
I thought that was so wonderful.
Yeah, so, there is this major connections, like I said, between Atlantis and the work you do, and it's fascinating. And this next segment comes in, I'd like you to think a little bit. Can you bring in Archangel Gabriel, how you got involved?
I guess we could, but I haven't finished. I have a few more things to share about Hilarion's story.
After the next commercial break,
okay,
as we think, you can finish up what you want to on that, and, bring in Archangel Gabriel, because I want people to know that you're actually, a very busy lady writing these books. They're published. So we'll
bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
go back again. So, Marlene, you want to continue on with sharing about Hilarion?
Okay, so in his last lifetime in Atlantis, he was a priest in the Temple of Knowledge this time. And he began his plan to salvage artifacts and truth crystals from the historical crystals that contain the memories of the great high priests and high priestesses of Atlantis, and that included crystal skulls that held this knowledge, to take with him out into the world before Atlantis was destroyed. He gathered a secret order to him called Priests and Priestesses of Truth. And in secret, they worked together to gather and collect this information. And when the time was right to leave Atlantis and journey to that place now known as Crete in Greece, in order to anchor the Temple of Truth there. It was a dangerous mission because they knew that if their timing was wrong, they would be hunted and the crystals would be returned to Atlantis and therefore destroyed. So in order to ensure that this would not happen, they chose to transform the crystal artifacts into etheric energy, grounding their power into the ley line system so that they would remain aligned to the etheric Temple of Truth that they had placed over Crete at that time. And Hilarion told me that in all of the lifetimes that he had known in Atlantis, he had known me in almost all of them. And that there is a great deal of work to be done to reawaken the dormant records and all the dormant memories in order to share the secrets of Atlantis.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. I mean, I don't know a lot, believe me. But I mean, that I found that fascinating because I had always, I guess, heard or read about, I don't remember right now, that many of the crystals of power, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they were placed in an etheric, like you said, etheric temple. So this is, great validation because I know some of the, in Buddhism, the tulkas are ones that are able to, to reach through time and to bring back from the etheric into the physical manifestation. And a lot of sacred energy tools, such as crystals, skulls, etc., are being brought back into physical manifestation. I think the crystal skull max
Yes.
is an example of that because anyone who, I know I seem to be promoting Max, and I haven't even talked to Joanne about that, but this is just part of the conversation of what I know about Max and the energy and listening to people. That it
Yes, Max has talked to me.
it just reaches out to you and takes opens you up, and there's a lot of other skulls, crystal skulls, that hold these akashic knowledge.
Yes.
And I think there's many of us reuniting throughout the world. And it's just not the crystal skull community. I mean, there's a little bit of a link there, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But that were the priests and the priestesses at that time that were guided by Hilarion. And, went to different cultures, whether it was, let's say, the Chinese or the Druids or, all
Yes.
over. And they brought that information all over the world, before Atlantis was destroyed. So this is like a wonderful confirmation.
Well, that's why I wanted to share this knowledge because I had done some research, Google searches, but I couldn't find this type of information on there in the information on Hilarion specifically. So I found it very interesting and empowering, and a little overwhelming because he claims we have much to do.
The whole thing is, I think the timing is right. So it's wonderful
Yes.
that you brought this up because even 10 years ago, if you brought this out, people go, yeah, right. they weren't ready for it.
Right.
Years, people putting pieces together, and as you know, they're raising their vibrations up, and they have their rememberings. Now this is a validation of, okay, now I understand where all this is happening. So it's pretty exciting. Is this going to be part of the books that you're going to be writing on, on his works, or?
Well, what I decided to do and felt I had the need to do it was to put all his, compile all his weekly messages that I've been receiving since 2009 into book format. So, that there is a place where all of this guidance, you could say, is stored in a concrete format. So I started doing that, and I realized, well, it wouldn't be just one book. It'll be at least 2 or 3 books. Mm-hmm. So that's going to take me a while, but I have started on that. I formatted the first book for the first 2 years, and it's already at 200 pages. So I'm going through the process of, editing and adding words to make it more understandable for, just newly awakened people who haven't come across this information before. Yes. And taking stuff out too, because boy, some of the messages I've posted, there's not too much editing that was done there that should have been done. But when I receive messages, they're kind of like run-on sentences. Yeah. So it's really, as a channel, that's the way they come through. So I do the best I can. It's usually on the same night as I post it on my website. So it's an interesting experience to realize, wow, I sure need editing. And yeah, it's going to take a while, but I'm really excited about it. And what I wanted to bring out is that I'm feeling as I'm doing this, I'm getting passionate about doing this. And it's also, the creativity is starting to flow for receiving compassion's work. And also the thought came to me, how wonderful it would be if Hilarion would channel through me a recording of his lifetimes in Atlantis. I don't know if it seems like he's open to that. I'm not sure, but wouldn't it be wonderful to have an Ascended Master's perspective of Atlantis as it was at that time that he lived it and everything that he knew? That would be bringing Atlantis back to life. Yep. During the current times, and it would be so wonderful.
I agree with you, because it's a higher perspective. Everything we know of, not everything we know of, but let's say the vast majority was all the misuse
yes.
of energies. But having a different perspective, I think, will help bring what they call the golden age of Atlantis back.
Yes, because in this day and age, we've lost most of that knowledge and information. So to have some of it come back in a, like an ordered sequence, that you're not just finding bits and pieces here and there, you have it all in one format or several formats, depending. He claims he had many lifetimes. I do not know yet how many. But to bring all of that back in that way, I think would be really valuable to, humanity at this time.
I think so, because I can foresee, with my words, I can foresee your books that people, whether it be a trilogy of books, but these people, since all the messages, even I notice myself, I can go back 1 or 2 years on your messages, and I'll find something that pertains to what I'm going through now. It's sort of been like a personal journal or a personal book for everybody that they can, like they say, run their fingers through pages and stop where they need to see something.
Yes. It was like difficult. How do I put 5 paragraphs at a time into a book format? And so I just decided I would just put a little break in between each one and take how the total amount of the messages that I have in the book and divide them equally and call those chapters. Because each one is like a journey of ascension. He was there along the way during those years, guiding lightworkers throughout the world to stay on track, to stay on task and not give up. Because, lightworkers experience a lot of hardship. Usually it's chosen by their soul in order to create growth, spiritual growth. But it isn't an easy lifetime because we've chosen to take on a lot more than people normally do, and so it's difficult. And so I'm finding as I'm editing that it's like a growth on the ascension path in sequential form. But I have found that a lot of his messages are like prophetic. They speak of times that we haven't experienced yet, but will be, I've noticed. So it's like what I've been asking him was, keep me 3 steps ahead at all times. And he is.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Katrina Kavanagh, host of the I Am Wisdom radio show. I Am Wisdom is about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality, and living a wonderful life. Looking forward to sharing each Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you.
Join Elliot Jollish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jollish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jollish Hour. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back again. Marlene, you see what I mean when I said time flies?
Yes, I do.
Or, I ask you to, give some links to where you can, people can get hold of you. I'd like to touch upon, you had put some photos out there, these beautiful columns of violet light. What was that all about?
Well, there's a special place in BC. It's called Argenta, BC. It's on Kuthumi Lake, the north end of it. And we go there quite often. And so on one occasion, in October 2013, I had been there, and I had been sitting there and doing the invocation. I am a being of the violet fire. I am the purity God desires. And I did that for about half an hour, 40 minutes. And then I decided, well, I'm going to take some pictures. So I started taking pictures, and that violet light, which looks like there's two beings in the center of that violet light, showed up in one of the pictures. And then another time I was there, and it had been a rainy day, and we had built a bonfire because on that beach there's a lot of washed up old logs that come onto the beach. So it's kind of doing a service by burning some of them in a fire to clean it all up. So we had a fire going, and then the sun started coming out. And the clouds, as they were lifting, it was kind of like in ethereal ribbons. It looked so beautiful. So I started aiming the camera and shooting. And in one of the pictures when I came home was this magenta column of light. And I was really excited about that. So I posted it on my website, and it created quite a stir because Blossom Goodchild posted it on her website to talk about columns of light, which I had never heard about before, but it brought a lot of extra people to my website because of it.
Yeah, because I think it's amazing just by, to me it's amazing. I mean, you're invoking the violet flame, which is a mantra of Saint Germain, for transformative energy, to transmute the negative into a very positive. Violet flame burns it and pretty much it returns it to purity.
Yes.
Pretty simple. And to do that, you're saying something, and then to be inspired to take a picture and to see a visual effect, I think is absolutely amazing. It gives me a thought of, gee, maybe I'll try that.
Yes, it is inspiring people to send in. I have web pages where I post amazing pictures that others who read my messages have sent in to be shared with the world. And yeah, there are some really amazing ones. So yes. Inspiration.
Yeah, so what page is that? Is that on your regular website? Or?
Yes, on www.therainbowscribe.com. I have a page called The Miracles Abound.
Okay.
And I've compiled about 5 pages worth of photographs that some I have taken, but most have been shared by others throughout the world, of orbs and, there's one that I originally did on the first page of a Toltec teacher. It shows the sun disk above her head. It's awesome. So, yeah, that's on my website.
Yeah, so in repeating your website, again, it's www.therainbowscribe.com.
Yes.
And I really do suggest people, to go to Marlene's website, and because she has a whole listing between messages and places you can interact. And even this page, it shows, we're being shown that what we put out energetically actually does manifest.
Yes, that's the miraculous thing about these times we're living in, that they're manifesting.
Yeah, and I think people need that feedback because, someone could say to you, when you say something, I've done the violet flame, mantra myself, and I believe it. But I think if I saw it, my mouth would really drop open.
Well, it is like a validation and a confirmation.
Yeah.
That ask and you shall receive. Hilarion says that quite often in his messages. Ask and you shall receive. If you don't ask, you don't experience these miracles.
Yeah, that's important because I think so many of us, and it's just part of our earthly lives. We're kind of programmed to say, oh, well, you're not spiritual beings, you're not worthy to see all these wonderful things. And I think we're at a time in our evolution that, it's time to recognize that, we are spiritual beings and how powerful we are so that we can change things for the better, through this understanding. So when do you think your books are going to be out? No pressure.
Well, I would hope by the end of July I would have my first one done and published.
Wow.
But my of course, goal is to have either 2 or 3 of all of Hilarion's messages that I've received over these years in book format and published, plus also the one on the qualities of love with Archangel Gabriel. But I still have 35 more qualities to go because there's 144 in total, 144 qualities of love. So, and I have 35 more to still bring out. I haven't. I do that on a weekly basis. So
because you work ahead of you.
So I feel really good about that. It seemed like I needed to do this first before I moved into bringing forth other knowledge, that I needed to do this in order to get that impetus going.
No, like I said, I know you're really, really super busy, and I'm glad that I was able to twist your arm. And I hope in the future, when you get a little bit of a break, to bring you back, because you brought out things today I didn't know. And I always say I don't know a lot. Only one person can absorb so much.
Exactly, yes.
So
we all have our part to play in bringing the pieces of the puzzle back together. And I think that is because of what happened in Atlantis. It's kind of like a fail-safe, is my intuitive impression of it, is that no one person can have all the knowledge, so that destruction like happened in Atlantis will not happen ever again.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because, we all hear about returning to the golden age of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there was the golden age in Lemuria, the recreational energies. That's a whole nother show that we have to talk about. But
yes, and there's Greece and what happened after Hilarion and the Order of Truth. It seems like there was a physical temple there for many centuries. So that is something I'm pursuing also, that knowledge, because that would be fascinating.
So, I'm glad you're really, going through with the books, and they will be physical books, and I know you'll let me know when, it comes out.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Thank you. And, thank you for being with us today. And I'm just going to hope I can get you on another time, because, like I say, you really did bring things out that I was unaware of. And like I said, I don't know everything. But your major confirmations that you gave to some of my thoughts today.
Well, that's wonderful. And that is, I think, my reason and purpose for being here on Earth at this time is to bring this knowledge back. That's why Crystal Skull's going to talk to me.
The crystal skull, that's why I wanted to mention, bring in that you also have with crystal skulls. Crystal skulls aren't the answer to everything, but they're like this little portal that kind of wakes you up.
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to, or everybody in March was a crystal skull caretaker, and there's a lot of connections going on here, so it's pretty great.
Yes, and I consider you and all the wonderful people that I have come in contact with because of you. You're my family of light on Earth. That's how I think of all of you. We have never personally or physically met, and yet we have this strong connection.
Well, that's why also Marlene and I were talking about the creation of the OMTimes zine and the radio and all the things that they're doing. Humanity. This is some